All right, here we go. It is podcasting time. Colin Thomas is here from Essential Maintenance, and we will fix it Dubai. I'm James Pikeway. We're at the Rove Hotel, downtown Dubai.
It's the best place to be, isn't it? I love this studio.
It is.
I love this hotel, actually, in all honesty. What a great place to be it is.
We're going to be talking DIY and more this morning, so buckle up and get ready for a whole bunch of fun. And it's been a while. It's been a while.
It does feel a while as well, I've got to say. Yeah. There's been lots has gone on since we last spoke.
In the land of podcasting, it hasn't been a while, but when we get to sit down. And in that time, I've had the opportunity to register the misery meter, and I now use the misery meter at home. And the wife goes, misery meter? I said, how much misery are we willing to take before we call We Will Fix It in to do things? And the last time we had a small problem in the kitchen. The kitchen faucet was leaking. It had been 1 year. It had been replaced by the people who do it at home.
Oh, good. I was about to say,
no, not your guys.
We did a tap, didn't we, for you? And I saw that last night, and I meant to ask you before we went live.
Yeah. No.
Thank goodness. Okay, so it's not one of ours.
No, this was my home maintenance guys from my landlord, and they came in and they replaced the faucet. Of course, they put it on wrong, and I only realized it recently looking at some pictures going, oh, that's the way that faucet was actually supposed to be.
Lovely.
But 1 year in, I don't even know what you call it.
Spout.
The spout wouldn't turn anymore.
What?
Yeah, 1 year in. And the wife is looking at me, she's going, oh. And so, of course, I try to bodge it.
Oh, God.
No, I fire a little WD in.
Oh, okay, that's not bodging.
I'm trying everything. None of it is working, to the point that whoever, the wife or the kids or someone took the spout and they turned it.
Oh, no.
Now turned the whole thing.
Yeah, okay, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, because all I'm thinking is, what's sharp underneath there? There's hoses. There's going to be water. And so at this point, this has now been a few days.
Okay.
And the wife's going, are you calling Colin or not?
Well, that's actually the least of your worries.
And the misery meter was hitting. So that's when I did give you a call. I said, okay, we got an issue. And your boys came. And actually you came and you said, okay, we've got one version. Because this is kind of part of the problem here is you can go down to the souk.
Yes.
And you can shop around and you can look for your different taps.
Yes, you can.
Maybe you can go to Ace. I don't know. I've never looked for taps there. But I think it's easier at home to find faucets and stuff.
It is. But then the problem is they all look kind of similar quality-wise. With some things, even if you've got an average eye for it, you can spot it. Yeah. However, when it comes to faucets, taps, they all look very, very similar. But the problem is the internals are completely different quality.
Well, and I think that's what happened with what I owned. It was bad quality to start with.
Yeah, I'm absolutely certain, because that's an error that just shouldn't happen, without a doubt. But the conversation that we had was, I've got a nice pretty tap from Groham, or I've got a slightly uglier tap from Tredex, but it is a lot cheaper. And guess what? They were made on the same production line.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Now, most people won't know this.
Yeah.
And as a result, they will either have substandard quality, or they would have to spend the money on. It may well be that all they're after is something functional that's going to be reliable. Well, that is why we use the Tredex range. They aren't the most beautiful. They have those people who ask for the swan neck tap, and we've got swan neck taps.
That's what we had. We had a swan neck tap, which was nice. I don't know if I loved it. I mean, from the day we had it installed, the wife was kind of humming and hawing about it, and to the day that it died and needed to be replaced, she was humming and hawing about it.
Well, a tap should last you 10 years.
Yeah.
That's really what I think the kind of level should be. Now, those brands, we have tested them for 13 years. And I don't think I've had one Tredex that has gone that we're aware of, and we haven't had one Grohair either. In the early days, when we were trying out all the various brands, we had quite a few back under warranty. And that's just the reality of, having tried all these since 2008, it's just something where, right, okay, we stick to these now because we know them. We know them inside out, and we're confident in what we're selling.
There are so many parts in a faucet that can go wrong. I mean, you've got seals galore in them. It gets hot. Water gets really hot here. Yeah. Around the world, you get hot, cold. There's movement happening. When water starts leaking from it, you're in danger zone.
Now, back in the day, those valves you could take apart quite comfortably.
Well, that's it. I remember back in the day being able to do that. And I was looking at it going, okay, I can fix this. And then I'm going, does it come apart?
Exactly. Well, the reason is a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
And if they do, they come apart so badly that actually you've destroyed it.
Yeah.
And you're gone. So these days, unfortunately, it's part of that whole disposable approach to things that means that, and unfortunately, it's better to replace rather than attempt to repair. And also the reality, and it's a nasty reality, but it's the truth, which is it takes time to get something apart. We don't like it because there is a very high probability that we're going to break it as we separate it. And if you imagine the labor that goes into it, because we've got to get the right size parts, and they're not universal anymore, because back in the day, it was designed to be repaired. Now it's not. So therefore, even when we do split it, there's a very good chance we wouldn't have the spare parts anyway, or be able to get them. So therefore, we replace. Now, the other classic is, back in the day, it used to be that the thread that is holding that tap faucet onto the worktop was a metal thread.
Right.
These days, it's nylon.
Oh, no.
So in the situation where you've gone through it's not turning anymore, now the whole tap's turning, highly likely that you've also split the nylon thread.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're gone. Doesn't matter what
I think the
got.
Tread X is metal still. I could be wrong, but
Do you know what? I'm not.
I'm pretty sure when I saw them putting it in, it was a metal housing. But I
don't know that, bizarrely.
Yeah, I think
I can't remember.
You know what it was really.
Oh, wait a sec. I do know this. It's a metal thread. However, the locking nut is nylon.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that we normally work around that is thread locker. If we're lucky and we've caught it early enough, then the traditional thread locker, the red Loctite thread locker, put that on there and it will hold, but there are no guarantees for how long.
Here's something that I think people forget, and your guys are great because they came in, they took a look at the sink, and first thing they say is, you've had this sink a long time. Like it's very clear that this is a 24-year-old sink.
Thank you. Yes, there was good quality 24 years ago, and hence this is why I still have it. I much prefer that than new stuff.
The challenge, and this is something to think about when you're replacing your own faucets and stuff, is out of the box, they're made to go into, they should fit anything.
Yeah.
But my sink is pretty thin. And so this is
red.
Exactly. So this is where I was very happy that your boys came, because they have the truck full. I call it the mystery wagon, and it's just full of everything. And they start putting it in, and they realize, we've got a problem here.
Yeah.
And they went out to the truck and they brought in a block that is made for sinks that fits in. I don't know if they sell those at Ace. I don't know if they sell them at SpeedX. I don't know if they sell them at regular plumbing stores.
No.
And I'm thinking, if I'm installing this myself, I get it in there, and now I'm trying to shim it. I'm trying to do all sorts of things, and I'm doing a dog's breakfast of a bodge job.
It's an internal joke that we have about our plumbing vans, and that is that they always drive uphill. They've got more spare parts than the rest of our teams put together. And, all of our teams carry spare parts, but the amount that our plumbing teams insist on, it got so ridiculous that actually I had to get them to do a stock count.
Oh, no.
And I traded a compromise with them, which was, if you genuinely think that you need this part, then you can have it. However, you can't have 60 of them. 10 I can just about handle. But to give you an idea, it was about 23,000 dirhams worth of stock alone. It was in these plumbing vans. And that's just not economic to work with. So the boys got their wings clipped slightly.
Well, here was another issue. They put in the new faucet. They get it all installed. They're now installing the hoses, Flexi hoses, which are the bane of my existence right now. And I'm a little nervous, and we'll talk about Flexi hoses in a second. That was a whole other issue I got in touch with you with.
Yeah.
But they're plugging in the hoses, they're getting it going, and then they're doing their testing. One of the hoses has got a leak. And this is the factory hose. And they're looking at it, they're going, this doesn't usually happen.
No, that's really, really rare.
And fortunately, because they've got the mystery machines full of stock, they went out to the van, bringing a plastic bag with a brand new hose in that they could replace. And I'm going, if that had been me, I would be trundling back to the hardware store to find another hose, and it would be like, oh, really? But they had it.
It's one of the things that we do pride ourselves on, and also when we don't have it, we've got a team of 7 now that are just working on sourcing and pick and drop.
Man, that's a lot of people.
It is a lot of people, but you need it. I mean, the whole reality of it. And those guys absolutely graft. They are flat out all day. And it's the only way. It is the only way. And especially now we operate without the 5,000 square foot warehouse that we used to have. We still have storage space.
Do you miss having the 5,000 square foot warehouse?
No. The truth of the matter is, most of it had been there since the very early days of the company.
It was a dumping ground.
It was just a dumping ground. So we still have that issue, but gradually we're getting it cleaned out and cleaned out and cleaned out. I think we're on like our 5th or 6th iteration now to actually get it for fast moving stock, and everything else needs to go. But again, there's a bit of a Filipino mentality, which is, oh no, we can fix that later, and hence it gets dumped in a corner, or where they think I won't find it, which is always, I know exactly where they're hiding things. So these days I can get it where they're starting to cotton on. He's going to find it. So on that basis, let's just get rid of it now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about these Flexi hoses, because they've turned into the bane of my existence. Now I'm actually a little worried, and I need to do a tour of my place and check all of my hot water tanks, because a few weeks back, and this is when I called you actually, a few weeks back, I wake up, typical thing, 5 o'clock in the morning, and open the door, and I hear water running.
Oh, I hate that.
And I'm going, but it's 5 o'clock in the morning. So I look out, there's no lights on, no one's up, go into the washroom, and there is a cascade of water coming from the ceiling. It's like, oh, you have got to be joking me.
Imagine if you were on holiday.
Well, that's it. And now, and I'm going to tell you the other piece of this in a second. But so, obviously this is 24 years of experience with these things. So turn off the water. Then I lift the roof up and I take the ceiling tiles out and I take a look, and they're done. So fortunately, I now have a supply of those at home as well.
Good idea.
and the thing is, my bodger guys who come and do it for my landlord, these ceiling tiles are not expensive.
No, they're not.
Why don't they have a box of them in their vehicle and they just replace them for you and charge me 5 times the price? Like, I don't get it. Like, that's what I would do if I was them.
Yeah.
Instead of 10 dirhams, charge me 50 dirhams each and say, well, it's carrying fee and not getting them broken fee. And would I pay it? Of course I would.
Yes, it's an interesting one. We have them in most of our DIY vans.
Yeah.
But again, the issue is the wastage rate.
Right.
Because if you imagine the main sandwich is just literally plaster of Paris.
Yeah.
So we do end up with huge wastage rates on this.
So I take off the thing and suddenly I'm looking and I'm going, I don't see any water leaking here. So I go and turn the tap back on, and again, hose ruptured right at the connection point.
Yeah.
Right at the metal connection point. Water's flying everywhere. Now, fortunately, this one is right over a bathtub, so there was water. But what was interesting is the water was actually firing up towards the concrete ceiling, which was interesting because while there was water coming into the tub, there was a lot of water not coming into the tub.
Ooh.
Yeah. And so I noticed it when I went outside is the water was going down the concrete wall somehow, and there must be a gap somewhere because I have Iranian tiles on the outside of my villa. And the Iranian tiles were wet.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And that will take a long while to dry out.
Yes, it has. And all I was saying was, man, if this is winter, if we went down to freezing,
oh yeah,
all those bricks would have
blown off.
And I just kept wondering, where'd the water go? Like, obviously it got absorbed by this thing, but where else was it going? So I've been, I was checking down in my laundry room and things.
Yeah, has to be going into the slab. There's no other route for it to go, or walls. But again, if you've got those running tiles on the outside, then it's unlikely that the majority is going through those.
No, they were soaked. It took weeks for them to dry out. Like, that's how much water was in there.
I'm not surprised. That's quite a classic. So the difficulty with hoses is, again, they all look the same. It's like taps. They all look the same.
I instantly got in touch with you and I said, okay, because this is something I could change myself.
Of course.
Easy enough. And it's which one to get.
Yes.
And I'm pretty convinced the ones that were on there were not of the best quality to start with.
So
they looked like they were, but I don't think they were.
So in Dubai, there's 3 standard qualities. If it is just grey weave, That is the lowest quality that you can find.
Which one of the hardware stores wanted to sell me? He said, yeah, these will work. And I'm going, I don't think so.
There is a very well-known hardware brand in Dubai that stocks those.
Yeah.
If their buyer knew what he was buying, he wouldn't have stocked those in a month of Sundays, without a doubt. So the next one up has a red and blue fleck.
Yes.
The problem is the top one has a red and blue fleck as well.
Yes.
The difference is the label that is on it, and also it used to have a hologram, but they've taken the hologram off, which is a bit ridiculous. So you have to look really, really carefully to make sure that it's got the brand sticker on.
Right.
And the brand is Philnox by Mate You.
Okay.
That sounds a bit rude, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And they're made in Spain. So they haven't, so far, the mid-spec one has not actually copied that final little bit. But again, we now and again we get a bad batch. And but you know, we've probably had that twice in the last 14 odd years. So we keep a really close eye on it. But again, if you imagine, the majority of these flexible hoses are not designed for the 6 to 10 bars of pressure that they may well get within a Dubai property under sustain. If you imagine, they're always under pressure.
Yeah.
So as a result, they will blow at some point, without a doubt. But that point that you mentioned, which was very near the fixing, and it's at the crimp point.
It's exactly where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the way that the crimp works is it doesn't give it equal pressure all the way around. It gives crimp locations that are tighter than others. Well, over time, that is operating against the rubber, which is inside the supporting metal braid, and it's going to go through. That's going to how it is, and especially if they're not using particularly good manufacturing processes. So we've learnt over the years, don't skimp on flexible hoses.
Well, and the next thing that I did is, so I replaced the one that was suspect.
Yeah.
I replaced the other one as well.
Good idea.
Because I was using Carlite sensibilities.
Yeah.
Change one headlight goes, the other one's going to go.
Absolutely.
And I just thought, if one hose is dodgy, although the other one probably isn't under as much pressure, it's also going to be, it's got the same lifespan on it.
Yep.
So I changed them both. They were both not so flexible. So they had been...
Because if you imagine, so the hot side, so the cold side has more pressure, but the hot side has the heat. So that effect will be very, very similar anyway.
Yeah. So it was nice. Now, so the problem is, at this point, everything is working well. I'm very happy. And there was a pressure relief valve on this hot water tank. So I'm thinking you guys must have installed it, because usually the guys who do the work at my place don't install those things. So I'm sure.
What?
I'm sure they
James.
don't. I'm sure they don't, because I always get them installed after. But I'm sure they don't.
Well, they come with the... Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
I had one.
That's lethal.
Yeah, I had one years ago that didn't have one on it. I had to get one installed. I don't know how it was possible.
Okay, so for those at home that aren't fully aware about water heaters and this kind of thing, which is totally fair enough, imagine a pressure cooker. We've all had a pressure cooker. Do you remember, back in the day anyway, do you remember on the top of the pressure cooker is the equivalent of the pressure relief valve? I don't know what they call it in pressure cooking, because I'm not really much of a chef.
It's probably called the pressure relief valve.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Well, if you imagine, if you don't have that, pressure cooker goes bang.
Yeah.
Now, the same with a water heater. The only reason why, they haven't gone bang immediately is because if they have put the thermostat in a lower point, there is not enough boiling pressure to actually create the explosion.
Yeah, okay.
But it is lethal.
And they usually come with them too. So.
Oh, yes, absolutely. They do. So it's utterly lethal to ever install a water heater without a pressure relief valve.
Here's my question, back to the hoses.
Yes.
Given that I've had this issue, so this is like for homeowners and renters.
Yeah.
I've had the issues with the hose. Now I'm questioning, should I be checking my other hot water heaters to see maybe it's just time I replace the hoses?
Okay, so
how do I know if they're starting to go?
You don't.
Yeah, that's a problem, isn't it?
You've got to work it out in terms of, were they the original ones at the property? So 24 years old?
Yeah, no. Everything's been changed now.
Everything's been changed.
Multiple times.
Do you have knowledge over which ones were changed when?
I mean, within a reasonable thing, like the kitchen's okay at this point because it's been changed.
Yes.
This washroom that we're talking about, it's okay because now I've changed them. The master washroom probably hasn't had anything done on that hot water tank in 5 years.
Okay. Well, if you imagine, the way it should work is when the hot water tank fails, which should be between 3 and 5 years. That's the standard kind of timing you get out of a hot water tank.
I might be at the getting ready to fail time.
Yeah. Then at that moment when it fails, anyone who's got any knowledge whatsoever will replace the flexible hoses at the same time.
Yeah.
But again, what are they replacing it with? Because at that point, it's margin.
Yeah.
Because most people won't be charging you additionally for it. Oh, yes, an all-in charge. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So in that situation, unless they are offering you a warranty. Now, will the low-quality one go in 1 year? Unlikely. But if somebody's prepared to offer that warranty, they've thought through the quality of the parts they're installing. So there's more chance to do that. But again, have a look, see whether there's stickers on there. And Phil Knox from Mate You is the brand you want.
I thought it was interesting. My neighborhood hardware guy, when I went in and showed him what I wanted, he wouldn't sell me the first place. The guy wanted to sell me anything, and I walked away.
Yeah.
I just said, you know what? No.
Yeah.
So I went to the guy I usually go to, which is, it sounds a lot like your Satwa guy.
Yes.
And,
they're great.
And I walked in, and the guy knows me, and he sort of said, I told him what I needed, and he said, okay, there's a variety, but you want this one.
Yeah.
And I said, cost, and he gave me the cost, and he says, there's cheaper, but you want this one.
Yeah.
And the couple other guys there who were repair guys, I guess, they were just laughing because they realized that, you're getting the good quality as opposed to the bad quality that a lot of people are buying because just for cost. And the thing is, those hoses aren't expensive.
No.
They're so inexpensive.
Yeah, but these are double the cost of the cheap ones.
Yeah.
But they are still inexpensive,
even
and it's
at that.
total false economy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But, that's the problem with Dubai, which is there are so many contractors that are all they've got is price to compete on. Yeah. So therefore, every 5 dirhams counts, and to them, that 5 dirhams is critical. So they will install the worst quality they can find if they can save a dirham.
Well, and we're in a situation now, Glenn, Powerworks Garage, he's just moved. You've got a lot of people moving right now.
Where's he gone to?
Close to the kids' school.
Oh, awesome. That's good
so
news.
I don't know what that area is called, but it's literally walking distance to the school.
Fantastic.
So, it's that whole thing. Prices are going up.
Yes.
Landlords are increasing rents, so people are moving out. That's a time when people don't realize when was stuff changed, what needs to be fixed, what's going, and it just starts that whole cycle again.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when people are moving because rents are going up, what's the first thing you don't spend as much money on? Your repairs.
Yeah. It's true, and we're on the end of that.
Yeah,
it's such a difficult scenario right now. But then we're almost on the end of it in all different scenarios because you got the other one, which is rent prices are down. Well, rent prices are down because people don't have the money in their pocket. When they don't have the money in their pocket, they aren't going to spend on maintenance. So we've definitely picked the wrong industry to get involved with. But these are all the things that we deal with on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the fluctuation in rents. I mean, as more properties come on the market, it's a crazy dynamic that exists.
Yeah, we've got a classic one directly opposite us. It's the same type of villa as ours, and I think I've spoken about it once or twice before. But it's in much worse condition now. Now we've renovated it. A year ago, we were just aghast when the price was double what we were paying for ours. And fair enough, we're on a long-term contract and we renovated it and various other bits. But he threw out that tenant after a year to get another 80,000 on it. And you're like, that's just wrong. And I'm sure if they'd have fought it, they would have won, because that is not allowed. And anyone listening, please fight it, because the RERA is very positive towards tenants on the whole. And whilst there is a loophole now that I'm not going to explain, landlords have to find it. And to find it, they're doing a very good job to find it. So take them to RERA, and they will stick to the RERA rent calculator unless the landlord finds this little loophole.
Okay. There we go.
Frustrating. So yeah, I've got a year and a half. I've got the most amazing landlords. I'm desperately hoping, if I was them, I would not give us a sensible rent.
Yeah.
But I think they're less about the money and more about the guarantee and the knowing that it is being renovated as we go. is I think quite important to them. So I'm hoping because it could well be that we're completely priced out of the ranches, and we've been there since 2008, so we're desperately upset.
I've been in my place 24 years. It is getting to the point where it's going to need some renovation.
Yeah,
my landlord knows this, but my landlord has been great because we've been good tenants.
Yes, of course.
And
well, it's the same with us.
His mindset is better to have good tenants, and I'll keep giving them a decent rate because I've got good tenants, as opposed to having horrible tenants and moving people in and out every 2, 3, 5 years, and then having to deal with, the upside is they get to renovate every 2, 3, 5 years.
Yes.
The downside is you've got new tenants, you got new headaches, and they don't have any headaches with me.
But also think about you get to renovate every 2, 3, 5 years. There's a cost associated with that, and you've got the demands from each tenant to deal with in that situation. So you know what? You're not actually making that much more.
No.
And maybe you will for a year.
Yeah.
Well done you for 1 year. Get ready for an empty property.
Yeah, exactly. And I see those around us. There's people moving in and out, and it's crazy.
No, I totally agree. We'll hopefully be able to sign up for another long stint again.
What we've just come off a little bit of vacation. You suggested that you turned your pool into a Mountain Dew commercial?
Yes. Okay. So this actually happened 2.5 weeks ago, and it actually came. This will come as no surprise whatsoever, due to the marital dynamic. Okay.
Go back into previous podcasts and listen to the pool pump story. And if you've been listening to this podcast over the last 4, 5, 6 years, the Natalie and Colin dynamic is
unique.
It is a real life story. This is something to be written here.
So we decided that when Tom, our pool guy, went back to training world-class divers, amazing. Instead of cleaning the pools, which he was doing during the pandemic, we decided we would look after it ourselves. Now, to do this effectively,
who's the we?
No, both of us did actually. No, this was an agreed decision.
But who's the we? Who's the we doing the work? Is this?
Well, this is where I'm getting to. So we decided that we would divide the work that was required, whereby I did the cleaning and the mechanical, and Natalie did the chemical.
Okay.
Yeah. And that had been working really well for 4 or 5 months. Then the pool just got a little bit cloudy.
Oh, yeah.
We were looking at it and going, wonder what this is. And we both Googled it, and we were like, okay, well, we'll shock the pool. So we shocked the pool, and nothing really changed.
Uh-oh.
And then at that point, when I was cleaning it, so I'm cleaning it on filter and the vacuuming stage.
Yeah.
And it's starting to throw the dirt that's in the bottom of the pool back through the jets again.
Yeah.
So at that point, we're like, read up on that. And we're like, oh, right, dodgy sand. Our sand's been in for too long in the sand filter. So I got my boys out. I'm like, you ever done a sand filter before? No. Right, I've looked at this YouTube video. Anyway, they aced it. An hour and a half for 150 kilos. We've got the biggest filter known to man. 150 kilos of sand went in it.
That's an industrial filter.
Oh, yeah, and more.
It's not a home pool.
Well, no, the pump's not a home pump either, to be fair. Because if you're going to buy, I always like to buy one size bigger. Yeah. And then, we've got we haven't got the 1.5, we've only got a 2. Yeah, I'll take it. So it's double what it's supposed to be. Actually, the pump is so strong that the sand filter, which is a very, very well-known brand, and on the top end of the quality scale, now flexes when the pump comes on. Love it. So we've got the situation whereby, all right, we'll replace the sand. So sand's done. The boys nailed it. I'm like, yeah, well done. I knew you could do it. And then I went back to clean it again. So I did the whole backwash and the rinsing out so that the sand is ready to go. Yeah. And then it probably so put it back on filter and well, fine. Still a bit cloudy though. So I'm kind of thinking, right, I obviously need to clean the pool again. So I clean the pool again. Out the jets, it's still doing the same thing. No, nightmare. So at that point, read up again. Right, shock it again. So at this point, I shocked it.
It's a lot of chlorine you're shocking with at this point.
Oh, we've got epic here. Honestly,
that is the cleanest water in the world.
Well, no, it's more like this could melt children in a second and a half. We're at that stage. So I've shocked it again and nothing happens.
Uh-oh.
At which point Natalie goes, it's definitely not the chemicals. And I go, it's definitely not the cleaning. Okay. Now at this point we're up to.
Did it now? Just pause for a second.
Oh, right.
Did it occur to call the old pool guy who's the diving instructor just to ask a question?
We get there.
Okay.
We do get there.
So it took a while, though.
We're way behind. No, it's a long while. Okay, I'll try and get this edited a little bit more.
No, keep going. I was just curious.
Okay, so we're now at about 9 days ago where Dad turns up now. So my dad has got
Your dad's the engineer.
Well, no, he's not. He's a fast jet test pilot, but he might as
No,
well be an engineer.
your father-in-law's the
father-in-law is the
your father is your father's the one who helped you buff out the rims on your Range Rover that you rented that time in.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay,
But on top of that, he used to have a holiday home in France, which had a very difficult to manage pool. So at that point,
he's an expert.
Well, no, really, he is.
Yeah.
You know, Dad, as far as he's concerned, is well, no, that's not true. He will teach himself so that he is as good as any expert that walks through the door. So that way you can have a sensible conversation. So he takes one look at it and goes, "It's the chemicals." At which point Natalie loses her. It is not good. It's really not good. Okay. So then,
I in my mind, I have a slow motion video of you reaching and handing your father a crash helmet.
It's that moment of
no,
but he didn't know who was doing what. So we're in deep trouble here. At which point I thought I have to retrieve this. So I'm like, oh no, Dad, we've shocked it. It's all done. He's like, oh well, the only other possibility is the multi-selector. I'm like, oh yeah, it's probably the multi-selector then. Okay, so he then, bless him, takes apart the multi-selector. So
he rebuilt it.
Yeah, well, I was busy doing car stuff, so he's like, I'll just have a crack on with that. And then he looked at it, and actually, that's not true. I then came back at that point, and he's like, yeah, the only thing I can find is that the dowel pin that holds the handle on has come out of one side, and therefore I'm not totally sure it fully closes, but it looks okay to me. So I took one look at it, and finally I was able to do something. And I said, I've got a C-clamp that will sort that out. So I set it all up. 2 is get the dowel pin perfectly back in. He's like, blimey, son, you've learned something since I saw you. Like, yeah, all right. And I always forget the fact that I'm back to being the apprentice.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I hate that moment. Anyway, but I showed him. We got it back in. So that all went back together. Perfectly happy with it again. That's all fine. And then we had one really hot day last week where it went from being cloudy to literally mountain dew in the space of 24 hours.
Oh, no.
Yeah, really bad. So at that point, Dad's looking at it. I'm looking at it. Natalie's looking at it. And I'm like, I told him by now, whatever you don't mention the chemicals. Don't mention the chemicals. So when I'm in trouble, I did what I always do, which is I took a picture and I put it on the British Dads group. And at that point, what generally happens is that you get kind of a mixture of communication. The first bit of communication was lots of people going, better call WeWillFixIt, they can deal with that. I'm like, oh, come on, be fair. All right, there you go.
Oh, no.
That's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, that.
Okay. So we got through all the WeWillFixIt type comments, and then we went to, call Tom. Tom can deal with this. So which was, I bloody know Tom can deal with this, but Tom is now training world-class divers rather than dealing with my pool. So, and then everybody said, it's algae. It's definitely algae. I'm like, it's green. I kind of know it's algae, but what do we do? Anyway, Tom then sends a message saying, because he's on British Dads as well, saying, do you need me? I'm like,
yes.
Well, that's the logical one, but I actually decided, you know what, Tom? One way or the other, I'm going to learn. So whilst I do need you, I don't want you to come. I want you to just give me a little bit of guidance.
No. You have him come and you stand over his shoulder learning from him as the apprentice.
Yes, but then I don't think you learn enough that way.
Yeah,
Okay?
I think at this point you'd be learning a lot.
So then what he said is, ignore everything that you've seen on British Dads. Don't listen to them. All you need is Foss out 3XL. And I went, Foss out 3XL? What's that? He said, it's magic. I'm like, Tom, are you sure? Come on, I'm under the cosh here. Foss out 3XL. Go get it. So
where do you get this stuff?
Well, apparently from the pool store.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I went down to Mac Pools, which is thepoolstore.ae, by the way, if anybody needs it. I got out the car I took 3 steps and then went face first. Have you seen the state of that?
Man, what happened?
I've done my knee, I've done my hand, I've done my elbow. Right. Alcus, you know how they don't have the centralized sewer system, and instead they've got all the grates.
Yeah.
And the grates overflow and then it all sinks.
Yeah.
I tripped because I was looking at the door, which had moved. I tripped over one of those, but I absolutely flew. Both sets of glasses went flying down the road. I reckon there was about 30 people that were still working on the doors that were there. They all gasped. Now, when those guys gasp, you know it's bad. Okay? Pick myself up, walk in the door, and then at that point, there are 4 people who've already got the first aid kit ready. I'm like, oh, I've really done it this time. Well,
that's a serious gash.
Well, thank you. I'm very proud of it. But because it's a serious gash and I've just done this to being an absolute idiot, of course, I refused the first aid kit. Do not worry. It's only a scratch, he said, with only half of his arm left. I will be able to deal with this when I head straight home after this. I wasn't going straight home. However, the whole point was, having done this, there's no way that I can accept anything until I've got the stuff that I need, and away we go. So then I had the conversation with them. Do you know what Faucets 3XL is? I went, oh, Faucets 3XL. Yeah, of course, it's on the shelf over there. I'm like, how did I not know about this sooner? So I went to get my Faucets 3XL. This bottle is tiny. It's literally, it's like that. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that ain't going to do it. You've got the big one. I'm like, no, I'm really sorry. The 1.6 kilogram one is out of stock and has been for a long time. I'm like, well, how many of these do I need? How many pulls are you doing this on? I'm like, 1. They said, you need a 5th of this tiny little bottle. It's quite a big pull. It's 9 meters by 4. As I said, a 5th of the bottle. Like, how can this work? So I'm literally dropping. It might as well be a couple of thimblefuls.
Yeah.
And this is going to solve my Mountain Dew pool. What's Mountain Dew, sir? So, now, the other thing, James, is because of this marital dynamic, I knew what was going to happen when I got home. I'm going to get home, I'm going to show her my thimbleful of container, and she's going to go, oh, shut up. You stupid man. They've gone and sold you a kipper here. So I got home, and I showed it to Natalie, and she went, oh, you stupid man. They've gone and sold you a kipper here. So I'm like,
at least you prepared yourself.
Oh, I knew it was coming. So I went, and I dropped the thimblefuls into the pool. And nothing happened. And I'm like, oh my goodness, Tom, I thought you knew what was going on. So I kind of gave up on it at that point. I was like, oh God, here we go. And then, so that was mid-afternoon, yeah. Anyway, we woke up the next morning, magic, everything's gone. It's like clear apart from, obviously, there's stuff on the what's it that I need to figure out. But I'm like, what is this stuff? Seriously, if you imagine concentrated bleach, which was what some of the other people were suggesting. I mean, absolute lunacy. But concentrated bleach to get out that amount of algae from that kind of quantity of water. I think I worked it out. I did work it out, but is it on the phone? Part of my calculation was how much water is in it. And I think I got to over 20,000 gallons.
So is this just a super concentrated algicide?
There's more to it than that, apparently. There's additional bits because they cover off basically all of your possibilities. Have you heard about water lock?
No.
Me neither. Okay, so apparently this is a thing. But again, it was on British Dads, and it was actually from a friend of mine. So, but he might have been sold a dodgy one here because his guys made him get rid of all his water and get brand new in.
Oh, yeah. No.
But they said that water lock is basically a situation whereby your water can no longer react to the chemical which has been added to it because it's locked. Sounds like BS to me, doesn't it?
Does it? Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't know whether it's true or not because, as it turns out, the Faucets 3XL, or whatever it's called, Faucets 3XL, did it. But
see, I don't have that problem with the old hot tub because every now and then I do drain out the water, but my hot tub's not giant, and the hot tub repairman who has come in the last 24 years 3 times has said he loves my hot tub because A, it's vintage.
It's awesome.
And B, unlike the new ones, it's really easy to drain the water out. And he says, and honestly, there's not that much water. So if he shows up and I need to get him to do something, I can have the water drained out in about 6 minutes, which he thinks is amazing. Because
that is amazing.
I just use some Ace buckets. He says, there's a valve, but I said, it's faster if you just do this. And he's going, it is really fast doing this.
Well, actually, thanks to my ridiculous pump, draining my pool is really quick as well.
So you recommend the Faucets, by the way. It worked.
My goodness, it works. Yeah, I mean, it's horrendously expensive. That little bottle was 170 dirhams.
Wow.
I know, which is crazy for that, but it really did work. So now we are back in the good books, and I think I've gained a little bit of credibility back from both Natalie and my dad. Which is kind of important because it was very much waning beforehand.
Yeah. And the pool's looking spectacular.
Well, it would have been if I'd done the next stage, which is the additional Hoover, but I just ran out of time.
Oh, no, you got to suck up all the junk.
I know, but when I say busy, I actually mean I went beetle racing last night instead of doing it. So, as a result, that still needs to happen. But the other thing that was fascinating was so many people said that when you're shocking a pool, and for those people that don't know, shocking a pool basically means giving it loads of chlorine, and they say that the bit that I should have known, which I didn't, was don't do it during the day because it's the sunlight will burn it off. So I know that now. And the second one was that for shocking, normally, unless it is just a routine shocking where you don't have an issue, if you have an issue, you're supposed to do it twice, and then the second one is 24 hours later. Is this something that in Northern America, because there are more pools around, people know more about this?
Maybe.
Because you're nodding away like this has all been perfectly normal for you.
We had pools in our backyard forever, so...
See, in England, you'd never have one ever.
Oh, okay.
So therefore,
people have a backyard pool, that have an upright pool, all those things you see that everyone has a pool. I mean,
what's an upright pool?
One of those ones that's not in ground.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, the above ground ones.
Okay, yeah. No, we never did. We had a paddling pool if we were lucky, which was like a metre by a metre and a half.
It's like you've made it when you've got an in-ground pool in your backyard. You have made it.
Well, the problem is, where we lived, that would have been ice. So,
right. Well, then you got to drain the water. You got to winterize it. So I guess drain the water. You don't drain all the water. You drain it down below the skimmer. You clear out all the pump pipes.
Yeah.
But you still have a bottom skimmer, so I guess we sealed that off or something. I can't remember how we did that.
In my hometown, if people knew we had a swimming pool, we get targeted by vandals and thieves.
Okay.
Yeah, that would not end well.
Yeah.
However, now I have learnt my lesson, and I feel like I'm getting so much more knowledge on what I'm doing.
Well, here's a good one. My brother, Joey Woo Woo, is how he goes by because he finishes off most every sentence with woo woo.
That's brilliant.
It's Joey Woo Woo. His name is not Joey, and there's no woo-woo in his name, but he goes by Joey Woo-Woo. He's got a backyard pool, heating. He's got a wood-burning stove.
Oh, awesome.
That runs the water through it.
Yes.
And he's got all sorts of this terrible cedar out in his backyard. He just burns that stuff. The creosote's crazy, but he just burns this cedar and stuff in this wood-burning stove. And heats up his pool. That's
beyond cool. I love it. I absolutely love that.
It's got like a full manifold in it where the water just runs around it.
That's so much better than the cost of my 23 kilowatt heater.
Oh, man.
It actually we run very, very rarely and takes a day to heat it.
Yeah.
So I much prefer a solution like that.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, there's something else you put in here that I didn't look up. The Grundfos.
Oh, the Grundfos Scala 2.
What is this all about? Because it's got the pressure kit built into it, and I'm instantly thinking, this sounds good.
Right, it is actually, and this kind of came out of.
So why do we need? So give us a background though. What's going on? Pump, pressure kit. What are we talking about?
Okay, so. We all know that the pump basically creates the pressure to put the water around the house.
Right. So in the UAE, this is kind of a weird thing, unlike many other parts of the world where, I mean, in Europe, in England, you don't.
No, we're pressurized from the grid.
Yeah, Canada, the same thing. We're pressurized from the thing. Here, the pressure coming out of the wall, out of the main feed.
0.5 bar.
Yeah.
So that's really, really low. So therefore, we put it into a storage tank before a pump at your home will then get it to the pressure that you need to come through a tap.
Yep.
So the pump itself will create that pressure, but it won't turn itself on or off. You need a pressure kit to do that. Okay. Now, the issue is that's another part to fail, and they do fail normally every 3 to 5 years on the whole maximum.
I wait for it.
Yeah. I mean, you can almost time it, can't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So the Grundfos, which, to give people an idea, Grundfos is like I'd say Ferrari, but it's way more reliable than that. What's more reliable? The Lexus. There we go. It's the Lexus of the pump world.
You're driving a Lexus now, right?
No, I'm driving an Infiniti, and that's another story.
But you like the Infiniti, or you did?
I adore my Infiniti.
Yeah, that's another thing that Natalie's doesn't want you to say anymore, right? That you love your Infiniti.
Well, no, she's more irritated by the other 6 cars. That's really where the problems occur. But no, the Infiniti, she's all right with.
Okay, back to the Lexus.
Right, back to the Lexus of all pumps, which is the Grundfos. Okay, so a Grundfos.
What a great name, too.
Yeah, it is. I don't know where it's from, actually, but their gear is just as good as it
German,
gets.
Doesn't it? Grundfos.
As you well know, my favourite customer, Nargis, who lives around the corner from you, we installed a Grundfos pump in 2008. And we replaced it for another one last year.
Wow.
Yeah, just great. And actually, it was still working just fine. It just got very noisy.
Yeah.
And we had the option of just replacing the bearing. She said, look, it's done well. So let's just do the same again. So that's exactly what we did. But anyway, they're just renowned as really good quality pumps. A complete pain to be able to get them primed, but once you do, they're good for decades. They really are. So the Grundfos Scala 2 is quite something because it is an integrated pressure kit. So all you have is just the hoses coming in and out.
Yeah.
Now the nice thing about it is, because it is integrated into the pump, and the pump is designed to last for 10 to 15 years, the pressure kit is to the same quality as well.
Oh, man.
So it's like a fit and forget type scenario. But equally, to plumb it in is ridiculously easy because you've only got 2 pipes, one to come in, one to come out. The other thing it does that most pumps do is it's self-priming. So therefore, even if you've got a pump underground, all you do is connect it up and boom, through it comes and away it goes. And it is not actually that much more expensive.
So why wouldn't everyone be using a Grundfos?
Because it's big and you can't try to fit it into the location that you need can be quite difficult. And also the outright expenditure initially, although it's not much more, people always go for the cheapest option, you know? So it's a difficult one. So we are in the process of getting these Grundfos Scala 2s to be available for our overnight teams, especially. So our out of hours annual maintenance teams, some of which are not specialist plumbers. If you imagine, we might be called out to any type of issue within a property. So our guys are qualified AC technicians for the work that they do. But part of that work, so we have our standard AC technicians that look after all the standard gas type AC issues. We then have an additional set of training which we take our guys through, which is for chilled water. So at that point, it's water pipes and there's a plumbing element to that AC work. Then they need to spend time to get up to speed on that type of chilled water work before they can even be considered to go on essential maintenance, where we then teach them for another like 5 or 6 days of solid plumbing training, so that they're able to cover all of those issues that arise. So the nice thing about this Scala is it is an easy fit in the scenario whereby we've got a dead pump, the bypass isn't working for whatever reason, and that does happen quite frequently. Scala goes in, 2 connections, primes itself, boom, and we've got that house up and running again at 3 a.m. in the morning.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've got that, and then we had a really odd customer. The customer's awesome. A really odd failure for a customer, which was he had 2 Scala 2s, but they've been installed really oddly together.
Like in parallel or serial?
Yeah, exactly, in parallel.
Why would they do that?
Well, the oddity of this is quite a lot of places have parallel scenarios, so that way one pump operates first, they then have what's called a latching relay to then transfer it over to the second pump. And what this does is it gives you more reliability over the period because it's only running at half the time. Equally, if for any reason you have a scenario where one pump fails, you switch it over to the single remaining pump while you repair the one that's already there. So it's a great bit of latency within the situation, reliability really, into the scenario. Well, this system didn't work like that.
Oh.
It relied on the integral pressure kit inside each of the Scholar pumps to back pressure against it. It's rubbish. And then, interestingly enough, when we got there, one Scholar pump was dead and the other one was leaking. And we're like, I'm not remotely surprised on this setup. And that is, if you imagine, that's a really expensive setup for two of those.
Yeah.
So we're now trying to work out, okay, scratchy head, he wants to keep with Scholars, but he wants two. Well, the only way I'm going to set that up is so that you have one as a primary and then with detailed instructions of how to swap over it were that to fail with another one that will be basically brand new. So we're kind of just working our way through that one at the moment, but it was just the oddest setup. I've never seen it before. Because I know back pressuring these units is not a good thing to do. This is, and it looks like it was a standard fit. So interesting one with those and a great pump.
Yeah. Well, you know what? On that note, I think it's time that we pack up the door and we get ready to do it all again really soon.
Wonderful.
Colin Thomas from Essential Maintenance and We Will Fix It Dubai. I'm James Pikeway. It's been a lot of fun.
As always.
And if you've got questions, queries, comments, potaholics with a K @gmail.com. You can always get in touch with us. We'll get it on the show. Give you a shout out. If you're watching us on YouTube, give us a comment. We'll give you a shout out. You can get a hold of us in all sorts of different ways. Thank you very much for joining us, Colin. We'll do it all again.